Good afternoon. Sorry, I'm running a little bit late. I hope you can all hear me. Please let me know whether you can or not. That would be great. And as I said, thank you for joining me. Welcome. My name is Michelle Dutrissa, and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up. I've still playing with my new camera stand and trying to get that all working so you can all see this well. As I said, if you can please just jump on, let me know. Hi, Shelley, can you hear me okay? Can you please just let me know if sound is fine? Okay, no response from Shelley, so I'm hoping that everything is good. So, yes, you can hear me. Oh, fantastic. Okay, so I'm going to turn my camera down straight away and we're going to get started. So just bear with me 1 second and I'll just pop this on. Okay then. Now I've raised my camera up a little bit higher today because I'm going to work on a scrapbook page. Scrapbooking is my first love. 20 plus years ago, that's where I started. I started playing around with scrapbooks. Before my husband and I got married, we actually did a trip down to Tasmania, and that was probably going on to 30 years ago. And back then, there really wasn't that much around with scrapbooking. I had a little bit of a basic knowledge of what I needed, and it wasn't until another 5 years after that that scrapbooking really became big. And I eventually got into it and started working or redoing my album that I had put together with bits of cardboard and whatever else I could find after our Tasmanian trip. Just to give you a little bit of a background, I then joined a local shop here. Well, before I did that, I actually joined Creative Memories, did a bit of work with them, running my own business with them. And then I joined a design team here in a local scrapbook shop and learned a lot of skills through all the other women there on the design team. And since joining Stampin' Up almost 11 years ago, I really haven't done a great deal in scrapbooking. So what I have decided pretty much today is I want to get back to my scrapbooking roots and do some more. My husband and I have been married for 26 years. I did put it on my Facebook the other day, it was 25, but my mother corrected me and said, no, it's 26 years. So we've been married 26 years this August. And I still haven't done my scrapbook album. I have put together a basic album that I uploaded photos and had the book printed, but I actually haven't done a scrapbook. So today I'm playing with a few ideas of ways I can decorate my album. Now, being here in Australia, my album or my wedding was very much geared around our Australian native flowers. I carried a king protea. I wore wattle in my hair. So I wanted my album to really reflect that sort of thing. And I also had gumnut babies. We got married up in the Blue Mountains at a little place at Berrabing, which was very nice. And in the yard there at the chapel where we got married, they actually had a children's cubby house, and inside of that cubby house was all decorated with gumnut babies. So my mum was a cake decorator, and I said to her, please make me a cake. And we had 2 children at the time that were only quite young. And I said, and I want gumnut babies on my cake because I wanted it to reflect that it wasn't just a marriage with my husband and I, it was a family coming together. So I'm wanting to carry that theme through a little bit with my album. Unfortunately, Stampin' Up don't do gumnut baby stamps, but I have found some. So somewhere along the line, I'm going to be adding a few gumnut babies to my album as well. But they have got at the moment this beautiful stamp set called Brightest Beauty. And that's with the wattle on it. So I thought I'm going to use this to start creating the first page of my album. Now I'm using a 12 by 12 piece of basic white cardstock. I'm not quite sure I'm going to decorate the whole thing. I don't know yet whether I'll use it as a complete piece, whether I'll cut it up but I just wanted to start with designing a basic theme idea that I'm going to run through my album. Now, my album's not going to carry the same theme all the way through, but there are going to be aspects of this page. So let's get started. So as I said, we're going to use the Brightest Beauty. We're going to use the Pretty Medallion. And I am going to actually even use a little bit, this floral image here from the Crane of Fortune. So it's got a little bit of a mishmash of a few different ideas all coming together. So I hope you can see my cardstock here. I pulled out some photos that we had printed up years ago just to act as a bit of a, so we could work out what we want to have larger prints done of. And I've got these two here. Now these photos here, got lots of yellows and everything in it. They're photo flowers that my sister sent or had delivered to me. She lives in England, so she wasn't able to be with us there on the day. So they're very special. But this is photos from inside the chapel. So this is where I'm sort of taking my ideas and my photos from, or my colours from. And I don't know whether you can see it, but just in my hair in that roll, I have got wattle there that my mum collected for me. And we got married in August. And hi, Maswari, how are you? Thanks for joining. And in August, that's when our wattle here in Australia starts to come out. And as you drive up and down the highway near my place here, but just outside of Sydney, you will start seeing at this time of year lots and lots of wattle around. So they're the some of the photos I'm looking at doing. So I've got my piece of 12 by 12 cardstock here. Hi, Linny. How are you? Thanks for joining us today. And I'm going to start by laying a bit of a foundation. Now, this type of stamping is something I've always enjoyed watching. Another very talented Stampin' Up demonstrator in Wales. And now her name has just gone straight out of my head. The Artful Stamper, Ruth. And she does the most beautiful pages for scrapbooking and for card making. And she has this way of stamping where it's an art form. And she uses about up to 6 different stamp sets. So I've really admired her work, and I've been watching her and her videos for quite a time. So I'm hoping that I can actually start thinking a little bit like her in putting this together. I tend to be a very symmetrical sort of card maker, scrapbooker. So I'm going a little bit out of my normal, what I would normally do with this, which is what I did last week. When I did the little tag last week, I went out of my norm. So, hey, new things to start. So I've already blocked up my medallion stamp, and the colours that I've decided to use are Soft Succulent, Daffodil Delight, Sahara Sand, Petal Pink, Petal Rose. Let me just make sure. Yep, Petal Pink, and Pool Party. So they're the colours, because even though there's a lot of blue in my photos in the background, my outfit was actually like I call it an eggshell blue. So it is a little bit like the Pool Party, but maybe a tad more blue in it. But everything, like, well, blue's my favorite color, but the accommodation had blue curtains, and the chapel we had this beautiful mosaic blue window. So there's a lot of blue reflecting in this, but I just wanted to bring it back to a little bit of a green tones. So I'm going to start with Sahara Sand, because my husband actually didn't wear white. His suit was actually like a Sahara Sand type color. It was very much an off-white, earthy sort of tones. So I'm going to start by stamping this medallion off, and I'm just going to stamp it in different areas and just cover my whole piece of cardstock with this medallion. Now with this one here, I thought what I might do is cover the whole sheet. I've been having a bit of a play today with this stamp set and the colours and working out what I wanted to do. And I have decided that I'm also going to do, because these are all going to be double layouts, I'm also going to do a sheet that I'm not going to stamp over the whole thing. But for this one here, and you can turn these medallions around, although I might just keep going straight because I have started those two straight. But initially, I was going to turn them around so they're going at slightly different angles. So let me just move my cardstock down and stamp another one here. Now, normally I would use this stamp in using a stamp apparatus because it is a very large stamp, and I find my hands are only quite small. So I find that holding this big block isn't always the easiest thing for me. But anyway, we are getting there. I'm going to stamp another one. So I've left sort of a little bit of white space around the place. I might just fill in a couple of little holes. Oops. Oh, well, that's not good, is it? Okay, I'm going to flip this over and we're going to start again because I really don't want that. I want to keep this sheet as clean as possible. Oh, well, best laid plans sometimes. Don't rock your stamp. Probably worthwhile just to turn this around. So I hope you're all keeping nice and warm where you are. It's a bit of a mucky day here. So my husband's gone out and mowed the lawn because we're supposed to be getting some more rain in the next day or two, and probably even this afternoon. Now I'm going to stamp that one there. Okay, we're almost back to where we were. A couple more images. Great way to practice. Keep stamping. Stamp both sides. Oops, I've done it again. That's okay. That's only fairly light, so I am probably going to cover that up. And of course, if I had thought of it, I probably really should have been just cleaning down my stamp in between each stamp off, but that's okay. Okay, so I just want to fill in that little hole there. And I can even put a photo over that little smudge, but I just want something just there. Probably could have taken that in a bit more, but that's okay. Okay then, now let me just clean this stamp down, because one thing we don't want is me getting my fingers into that again. That's the one thing about working on big pieces. You really do have to be aware of the ink and everything around you. But there are always ways, like I can put a photo over the top of that. I will be stamping over the top of it, so that is fine. So the next image I'm going to put down is my wattle leaves. So I've popped that onto a block. Now this is a photopolymer stamp, and I'm going to use soft succulent for that, because the leaves of wattle are very close to a soft succulent. They can be a lot lighter and a lot darker, probably more so than lighter. Sorry, it's the wattle that I'm using, the Daffodil Delight for my wattle, and wattle can be sort of like a very creamy sort of off-white colour to quite a bright yellow. Now, because I'm using photopolymer, I'm going to pop a mat underneath. Now I've got to keep moving my mat around, and I'm just going to, I'm not stamping straight down onto my medallions. I am going to move this around, and I'm going to do first and second stamping. So I'm going to stamp off first, and I am going to keep a direction so that everything's going in one direction with this, and then I'm going to stamp off just a second time. So I've got first step and second step stamping there, and I'm just going to continue doing this around on my page until I've filled up all the areas where I want to have the stamps. Now you could, if you wanted to, turn your stamp around, but I've decided no, after having a bit of a play, that I'm going to have different angles, I think, but not necessarily, move that mat up, it going in different directions. So I'm going to have a one-way direction. I'm just going to throw a piece of paper underneath that, just because I don't want ink getting onto that black mat. It's a very pretty stamp, this one. I've actually enjoyed using this a lot. There's not a huge amount out there. People haven't used it a lot, but then maybe it's because it's more of an Australian type stamp that a lot of people haven't sort of thought about how they can actually use it, because sometimes there are stamps out there that you look at them and go, yes, you love them, but how do you use them? Moving this mat down. I'm just twisting my angles a little bit. Take some off the page. You don't have to have it all directly onto the page. Now we've just got this area up the top up here, and probably a little bit more down here, down the bottom. So it's actually quite fun to make your own designer series paper to go with whatever photos and everything that you want to use. And of course you can always cut it up and make your cards as well. It's not just for photos. And I want a little bit more, I think, over here. By doing that second generation stamping, it just fills in some of that white area as well, but not necessarily with full strength. Now somehow I've managed to get a little bit of green ink on there, so let's see if we can cover that up a bit. Put that on there. Okay, so I'm quite happy with that because I don't really want to fill up the whole area. I wanted to leave some white space because we are going to put other things in there. Yes, it is a pretty stamp, Shelley. It's very pretty, actually. I quite like it. And I think even when this is gone, I'll probably keep it for quite a while because it'll probably take me a few years to get my wedding album done. Okay, now next color we're going to do is our wattle, and I'm just going to remove the stamp because you do need the large one. Now I will just warn you that with the next stamp I'm going to put on for the wattle, there are some very thin parts, so make sure that when you take your photopolymer stamps off that you do tend to peel them off, don't pull them off. And of course what you can do with these, if I just take that out of the road, is pop that down, let it relax, and then pop your block on top, because there's some very thin parts here and there, and you could stretch them or even break them if you pull at them too hard. So now we're going to go through and add our wattle to this, and this is where we're going to start seeing some really nice color and hopefully some brightness come to this. It's not been too bad to line up because being a photopolymer stamp, you can actually see where the little marks are, because it's got like little stamen marks in the green when you stamped, and then you just need to line this up and stamp over the top. And I'm going to show you a little trick because I didn't quite line that up properly, but to give it a little bit of extra brightness, I'll show you what we're going to do next to this. So again, I'm just going to line this up. And just work around doing these, all these. So but you can now really start seeing that wattle start to come to life on this page. And I'm not putting the wattle on the second generation stamping that I did before, just for the fact that I really wanted that there to be more as a filler rather than adding more wattle to it. This one here is a little bit harder to see, but I believe that's where I had it. I only got a couple more to go. Last one. And what I'm doing is actually lining up the two top points and one down the bottom. So that's how I've managed to line all those up. Now, I think I'm finished with that, so I'm going to remove that. And let's clean off these stamps. So again, I don't get ink everywhere. Now, this stamp set is in your mini catalogue. So it's only there until the end of this year or early January, 2nd of January, I think. So if it is one that interests you, don't leave it too long to grab hold of it. Now, within that stamp set is also this little triangular one, and it's actually quite a nice little filler, and I'm going to bring in the pool party for that. And actually, I still will need that mat, so I might pop that back underneath. And again, I'm going to do a little bit of 1st and 2nd generation stamping and just start filling in some of these holes. And I'm going to turn this around in different directions, just so then this one doesn't have to be all the same way. And we're not just stamping this on the just in the clear white areas. You can stamp this also in the medallion. And I forgot to do my 2nd there, so I'm going to bring that down, stamp off. We're just starting to look at some of these areas and just fill in some of those spaces. Now I'm just going to stamp that one off there and just do a stamped off one there. Just turn my cardstock around. Okay, so let's have a look at that. I think I just want a little bit more, maybe just in there. So I didn't want to cover up those medallions too much. I wanted them to still be there, but just starting adding to a little bit of more blue in there. Now, with the next one, as I said before, I am going to use the, I'm just going to change my block, the flower from, what was it called? The Crane of Fortune, which is like a chrysanthem type flower. Even though I didn't have chrysanthemums there, I just feel this needs that little bit of extra color to it. I mean, that's quite pretty and that would work like that, but I just wanted to take probably a little bit more of the whiteness away and add another color. Now, pinks weren't a big thing. My mother wore like a purpley type color, but I just felt that this sort of brought the wall colors. If I use this with, you know, these particular photos, it sort of brought this earthy toning a little bit more into it. I am going to stamp it off because I don't necessarily want it at a full strength, and I might not even necessarily use those photos on this page, or I could use little bits. I do have another idea for doing another page, because the chapel we were married in had this most magnificent mosaic stained glass window. So these are all going to get stamped off, and the only part I'm not trying to ink up is this little stem part here. So I'm going to stamp that off and then start filling just some of these areas, just adding that little bit more colour into this. And again, as I said, just try not to get that stem. Don't even need that mat anymore. Just gives a nice mottled sort of tone into this and takes some of that. So the white space is still there, but it's just not completely there. And I didn't remove that stem from that, and I didn't stamp off. Oh well. This piece might get cut up. I can't remember though, I ink stamped off on that one. Now just checking that I haven't missed anywhere. I might just a bit more up in this corner. And I think that's it, because I don't want to add too much. I don't want to overdo it. I'm just a bit disappointed in that area there. I didn't stamp off, but that's okay. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I've just grabbed a Stampin' Up marker in the Mango Melody, because I just wanted to brighten up this wattle, because the wattle is what I want to be seen. So I'm just using the brush nib on the Stampin' Up markers. The Stampin' Up markers has got two nibs. It's got your fine nib, and then it's got a brush marker nib, and I'm just going around and just adding a little dot of colour on all of those little flowers. Now you don't have to be particular. All you're doing is just dabbing it and just adding a dot of colour. And if you're a little bit off in your positioning of that stamp, well, then you can just fill in that area with that dab. So I'm really just putting dots of colour on all of those little flowers, just to add a little bit of depth to my wattle. Now I probably will be doing quite a few more pages like this one, because I am going to cut some of these up and maybe use them as strips. Other places I might use it as a full sheet in my album. So I'm probably going to do a few of these. My husband and I are having a very photographic day today. He's playing on his computer at the moment with family photos in getting a big one printed. And then we've decided this weekend we've got a frame that I've had for probably a good 10 years, which is a massive frame, and we've never put photos in it. So we're going to go through all our photos of our children and us and put it into this big, huge frame and hopefully hang it and get a little bit of this stuff sort of happening. Now I'm just filling in a couple of little holes there where I missed with my stamping. So I hope this has inspired you maybe to even give this a go yourself, because you could very easily cut this up and make cards out of it. I'm not going to be adding my photos exactly today because I may need to go and get some printed, because those photos I had there were like our proof type photos. So and I think I've got one left to do. This doesn't take long at all. It's just really just adding a dot. And that's it. So that's my first page for my album. And whether I use these photos on all of those or these ones here, I think it looks good. And now I always have a bit of a play before I do something like this, because I sort of like to have a bit of an idea. And I sort of played with a couple of colors. So as I said, I used pretty petal pink for the chrysanthemums on that one, and that one there was with blushing bride. So just a bit of a variation that still looks quite good. And this is another one I did on the A4, and I'm going to do a big 12 by 12 and leave some white space, because I sort of felt, you know, the photo could look quite good with a bit of white space there as well. So, I mean, have a look at your photos if you like doing scrapbooking or you've never done it before. I mean, look at your stamps, and you can use them for more than just card making. So I hope I've inspired you a little bit today. And next week I've got another idea for another page that I want to do for my album. And hopefully I might even have this already done and I can show you a completed page. So thank you very much for joining me today. Just remember, all these products you can purchase through my shop, and you can find that shop at michelledetrissa.stampinup.net, or you can go onto Butterflies and Bows and you will find a link there also to my shop. So remember too, the celebration is on until the end of the month. So when you purchase $90 or more, you can choose something from the celebration album for free. So have a lovely day. Have a lovely weekend. As I said, thank you very much for joining me, and we'll see you next Friday. So take care. Bye for now, and I'll see you later. Bye.